Jule. Thakadhina Dhi-im Thakidina Dhi-im ThakitaDhi 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 Thakadhi'im 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 ThaDhi-im Dhi-im Thakitathom Thadhikinathom Dhi-im Thakitathom Thadhikinathom Dhi-im Thakitathom Thadhikinathom Dhi-im. Welcome to episode 278 of Konnakol 2020, the video series in which every day of the year I show you something about Konnakol, which is the vocal percussion tradition of South India. I am Carlitos from Slovenia, and today is October the 4th, which means happy birthday to my friend Patricio, or Tricio, back in Buenos Aires. Feliz cumpleaños! And today I decided to start a new Korvai series because I love those, and this Korvai series is one I learned recently, so I wanted to share it with you immediately as I learn it myself, or as I learned to master it myself. So it is a series that means that 3 individual Korvais that you would perform in succession, because you might not know this, that all Korvais are to be performed 3 times. And the most obvious way of doing that is like taking one Korvai and then you perform it 3 times. But it's very common as well that you start one Korvai, you perform it once, and then you do 2 incremental variations of that. And that means that when you perform it 3 times, it still is the same length, but you haven't really performed it exactly the same. It's more interesting. So that's what we're going to do today, tomorrow, and the day after. This Korvai series, rendered in Chaturashanadai Madhyamakalam, in Adi talam, of course. And each Korvai is going to last 4 avartanams, or 128 aksharas in total. So without further ado, let's have a look at the structure. The structure of the Korvai you can see here on the left side of your screen, and I would say is very simple because we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lines, and the first 5 lines, most of the lines, follow a very obvious pattern, right? So the first one is 4, 4 gap, 4, 4 gap, 4, 4 gap. A very clear question and answer, so to speak. So we have one phrase for 4 beats, and then we reply to it with a gap for 4 beats. The second line is 3, 4 gap, 3, 4 gap, 3, 4 gap. So now the question and answer is slightly smaller, or it finishes earlier because the phrase is now of a 3 beats and not a 4. The next line is 2, 4 gap, 2, 4 gap, and 2, 4 gap. The next line is 1, 4 gap, 1, 4 gap, 1, 4 gap, and the next line is going to be performed as 4 gap, 4 gap, 4 gap. But internally, we can also understand this as if this would be 0, 4 gap, 0, 4 gap, 0, 4 gap. Of course, 0 is nothing. We don't perform anything with a value of 0. But it makes sense to look at the composition in this way, so you can see exactly what's going on. We started with 4 at the top, and then we decrease 1 by 1 until we reach 0, which effectively turns the penultimate phrase into 4 gap, 4 gap, 4 gap. And the last line is 10, 4 gap, 10, 4 gap, 10. It is a tirmanam because it has 5 parts and 2 gaps in between. And how do we perform all these numbers? Well, in the most simple way possible. And let me tell you, you could find more interesting or less basic ways of performing these beats, but I'm going to stick to the most basic ways of performing the 4, 3, 2, 1, etc. So the 4 is simply going to be Thakadhina, the 3 Thakita, the 2 Thaka, the 1 Ta, and then the 4 gap is Dhi-im. It's important that you do that particular subdivision. So it is Dhi-im. And then what else do we have? Yes, and the number 10 at the end. The 10 is the most basic phrase for 10. Takitathom Thadhikinathom. And when we put it all together, we are going to get a transcription that looks exactly like this. So from the top, first we have the beginning, the introductory beats that help us set the tempo. So that's what it says there. Adi talam, half a cycle of Adi talam that we're going to perform at the beginning. And then we have the Korvai itself. I've used different colors to identify each and every phrase. So the first line is in red, the second is in orange, the third is in yellow, the fourth is in light blue, the fifth is in purple, and the last tilmanam, or the sixth line, is in white. And you can clearly tell by looking at the colors that these phrases will not start always on the downbeat. The red and orange phrases do, but the yellow starts after 1, the light blue starts after 3, and the purple starts after 2. So you need to be very proficient with performing all these phrases in order to tackle a composition such as this. And how do you do that? With abhiprayams, of course. So you can always go to the playlist on my YouTube channel titled Konnakol 2020 Abhiprayams, and you can practice to your heart's content as many abhiprayams as you want. And definitely after doing that, this composition and all the other korvais as well will be much simpler. So now I'm going to perform this at a slower tempo. And you are very welcome to join me. And if you would like, this is the perfect time to pause the video and go learn this in your own, at your own pace, in your own time, and return whenever you're ready. So if you're ready, I am. Let's do this. ThakadhiM ThakadhiM Thakadhina Dhi-im ThakadhiNa Dhi-im Thakadhina Dhi-im ThakitaDhi-im ThakitaDhi-im ThakadhiM 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 taDhi-im 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 Dhi-im 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 ThakitaThom Thadikinathom Dhi-im ThakitaThom Thadikinathom Dhi-im ThakitaThom Thadikinathom Dhi-im. So that was the first korvai in this very nice series that we are going to continue in tomorrow's episode, and also in the episode of tomorrow, the day after tomorrow. So these three are going to be all interconnected. Let me know what you think by leaving a comment using the YouTube, Facebook, or Instagram comment boxes, or reach out to me using my social networks displayed here, because I always like to hear what you think, to read what you think, actually. So that's all from me tonight. I have been Carlitos from Slovenia. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you all tomorrow. Goodbye.